Well, thanks again for joining us on the Unlearning Curve. And I'm Stuart Delony. I'm joined by Karl Forehand and JD Forehand. And just a reminder, if you want to send us messages, call us heretics, call us whatever you want to call us. It's totally fine with us. You can email us at theunlearningcurvepodcast@gmail.com. Is that correct, Karl?
That is correct.
Yes. Okay. So speaking of people that are giving us feedback, Karl's got some more of our fan hate mail. Whatever the mail is that we get, comments, everything.
Fate
Yeah,
mail.
these are people. It's really confusing to me. First of all, there's 333 people in our Facebook group, but not very many in our, actually subscribe to the podcast. They could be listening, but it's less than 333. So that kind of confuses me. But these come from all those different places. The Facebook group, there's none on YouTube, but so that we had a comment. Great episode. And that was from Fallout, from the Prosperity Gospel, which is a pretty big episode, I think, for us. Maybe it was in the top 5. Do you guys remember from last week?
I did not realize we were going to have quizzes. I was not told.
Be prepared. Always be
Pop
prepared.
quiz. Yes, Karl. Yes, it was in the top 5.
Yeah, good.
Okay.
So
I knew it.
She says, thanks for doing this series on the prosperity gospel and how it sends people on an emotional roller coaster. We certainly agree with that. Thanks for the feedback. Also, Jane George said, thanks for putting it on iTunes, right? And then David George, we had to look this definition up, full of avarice and more. That was the Paula White episodes. I'm not sure exactly. What does that mean, Stuart? Do you remember?
It's greediness.
It is
avarice
greed.
is
Greed.
yum money. That's really what they like to do.
I learned this word in high school from an Aesop Rock song, if anyone knows that rapper who just put out a new album. Yes, he said, hope in the crack in his armor spreads to his avarice. And I was like, what the hell is an avarice? And then I learned. And I've always loved that word since.
I don't heard one of those. That made me gay. Shouldn't have said that.
I was affirming at the time, so it was fine. I was like, maybe I'm avaristic. I don't know. But then I found out I'm not. At least I'm not willing to hustle that much.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's definitely fair.
It's awesome. So I get to interview you today, right, Stuart?
That's true. Yeah, our last session was interviewing Karl. We did the whole exam on his faith.
Yeah.
He turned his head and coughed. He did the whole process.
Yeah.
And now I've agreed unwillingly, but JD has threatened me. Really, he just said, my mom will make you if you don't. So.
And his mom is in the audience today. Shout out to Laura on the
she's
side
sweet,
here.
but if she has to put you to the question, she will.
Yeah. So maybe she'll feed me something good here.
So wait, JD,
From the audience.
While your parents aren't paying attention, which parent was the hardest growing up? Which one was a disciplinarian?
Dad was a disciplinarian for sure. Mom
Did he
tried,
scare
but
you
she
more?
didn't have the heart for it. Dad definitely scared me more for sure. Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
Mom was, but it's kind of like classic because Mom was the one that if I could tell that I hurt her, I broke her heart on something, maybe not fully, but I really disappointed her, I felt worse about it. Because Dad got I'm a dumbass boy and I'm just gonna do dumbass boy shit, right? But Mom I think sometimes was just appalled with me, you're really a monster, and I don't know. I don't think she really thought that, but you kind of see a twinge of that in her eye, and I would be like, oh my God, I really hurt my mom's feelings. I feel like a piece of shit. But Dad, I was like, well, he'll probably just beat the fuck out. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
He was a Baptist pastor. Makes sense. Yeah.
I was allowed to.
Yep.
Yeah, I was going to say, not allowed, encouraged.
Scripture
to, let's
tells
be
you,
honest.
come on.
Yeah,
Commanded,
looks like
perhaps?
we're interviewing JD now, but
I know. See what I did there?
JD was easy to scare. I mean, second was not. And so anyway, we stopped spanking
I would
early.
just start lying. I would just hide it really well.
Yeah.
Abby would just be like, fuck you, come at me. I was like, wow, #brave. That couldn't be me for sure.
Yeah. All right. So JD, you have a question for Stuart?
Stuart, so I actually only have heard snippets of this because I don't know you as well as Dad does, but what does your deconstruction journey look like?
I was trying to think of this because when Karl laid out these questions, I've been pondering some of this. I honestly, I feel like I've been deconstructing pretty much ever since I was a Christian, but we didn't call it that, but I was just always the one that had more questions. I had that curiosity, and I was always ending up causing trouble in the churches we were in, like even as a kid, because I like took the words of Jesus seriously, and I'd be like, I wanted to learn more. I remember there was I was in middle school, and I got like in trouble because I kept going to my old Sunday school class because there was a teacher that would he loved questions and answers. And, we all get moved up. And I was like, I'd rather just go and talk to him because this dude, I loved it. But again, it's that thing where you have questions and you want to know more. And it makes the church not like you for doing that kind of a thing. And I don't know, I think I was probably I was going to be broken from the very start when it came to my faith journey as well. I don't know if I've talked about this on here, but when I was 3, my sister was born and she had severe mental, physical disabilities. And so part of that was my dad, good Southern Baptist, but then my mom kind of adjacently would take us to prayer tent meetings because her answer was, well, we have to get her healed. And so you kind of go around to these grifter areas, and I was also kind of the responsible one. When it came to my mom, she used me to be responsible all the time, because that's just who she is.
Yeah.
But
older child. Yeah.
And then then I going to these places, I started developing, I guess it was a BS meter for stuff. You would just see what people would preach and then how people would act. And also I think having a special needs child in our family kind of already made you a little bit of an outsider. Especially in the 80s, because people didn't know how to handle stuff at all then. And so I think that some of it was just me coming to things for being a bit of an outsider and a bit of an observer. And I just feel like that questioning nature just kind of kept going on. I think what helped it make it worse, I mean, positively for me, but probably worse for my parents, was probably when I started dating my now wife. Because I knew that for us to be accepted by my family, I was I have to take her to church with me. And this is when we were teenagers, and I hated youth group. I thought it was boring and stupid. And if my parents would drop me off, I'd act like I walked in and I'd just go sit outside for the 2 hours. I didn't want it. And we started dating and talking and having interesting conversations. And then we were well, I don't like what they offer here. So we tried going to a young adult class when we were 16 or 17, but they didn't want you there as well. Because it's weird to have you here. So then we started, we're well, we'll just volunteer. And we were volunteer teachers for preschool in this church we were at. And then eventually they were no, we need you in youth group. You can't do this, this kind of stuff. And then it kind of spiraled from there. And then, stepping into ministry too. I was always looking for the words and the ways of Jesus made sense to me as a frame of mind, to be able to walk through stuff. And I was the weird one that took it seriously. And even though my parents were take it seriously, but they took it seriously like most Southern Baptists do, just intellectually with it. And I don't know. I think it led me to always being a headache for whatever church I was working for, because I wouldn't do what they wanted me to do, even though I wasn't I was out sinning. By their definition of sinning, but the idea of hanging out with other people that weren't church people, or getting to know all of this, it helped me to see what a controlling structure it was for how church was, and then that really started a lot of my questioning process. One of my first big jobs in ministry took us to the West Coast, and it was to a larger church there, and they hired a guy who'd never been a youth pastor to be a youth pastor of a large youth group, and it was awesome. The youth group got huge, but they just didn't like the kids that were coming. They didn't like the kids that would swear, the kids that shouldn't have been there. And then, I think me having to argue for their presence also was one of those huge things constantly in the church, saying they deserve to be here. They need to be here. Well, the carpets, and we don't no. And then that probably led that process of me going this isn't right. And then let me find a different tribe to plug into, because of course there has to be a good one. And I would go to a different one, and then I would go to a different one. And I was always a headache for everybody when I was there in each of these, because I kept asking questions and wanting it to actually make sense. And so, I don't know, I feel like I'm still deconstructing all of this in that process. I think when we talked in the last session, trauma, me also dealing with my trauma has been a huge component of it. because I think I dealt with it intellectually and like for the longest time, but then going in and realizing that the junk it had done to me and the other junk I had, that it needed to be exercised, and not literally, it needed the hard work of trauma needed to be taken.
Yeah.
For that to happen. So
what was your motivation to get into ministry? Like after you saw some of the sausage was made, and then you still went into ministry. But...
I never wanted to, and it was a thing where I was early married. I again started reading a book. It was what was it? Man in the Mirror.
Yeah.
Not the Michael Jackson song, but might as well have been. But I remember again reading that and starting to again be like, well, if this is what we're supposed to be doing, like, why am I just leading an ordinary, regular life? And just started pursuing that. And I didn't want to really go into ministry, but I had one of those moments where the church was sending off another pastor like across town to plant a church. And I was like, I just want to go help this guy. I really feel like I should go help him. And then we found out that I was the only one from the church that was going to help him. And then that became a problem because they were worried that pastor was stealing people from the flock for the church they were planting, which is also like, what are you talking about? Like, this is ridiculous. And then it kind of just went from there. Me being a troublemaker and a thorn in people's ass or side. In ministry.
It's fun at first, right? It's always fun.
No, it's always a pain in the butt.
Yeah. So your spouse... you asked me a question about Laura and I, where we were in sync or how we stayed in sync. What was your experience like being married?
In deconstruction, the good thing is Miriam and I, like, we always have had good conversations about faith. Since I knew I had to be aligned as a teenager, my spouse needed to also have her heavenly ticket punched.
Make sure you're equally yoked to be slaves for Jesus.
There you go. Yeah. And I don't know. We both like to analyze things, and I think in both of our trauma that we both grew up with dysfunctional families also made us a little bit of outsiders. So we kind of understood that, and we love to talk, and that was part of it. We would hit other hiccups along the road. I remember like it was really difficult on her trying to process through like what is my worth as a woman in the church. And I know that was like reading some books and walking through that process was huge for her. And it was huge for me, being able to look at things differently. I think the hardest thing for her has been, because for the most part, it's like a little forward, a little back, like where we're at. Because like you'd said, Laura was ahead of you. And there's been times where I'm ahead of her. And there's other times where I'm way behind her, depending upon that process. But I think the hardest time is just, being in places like when we moved out to that church that I had to argue with to have the kids to stay there. Yeah, I eventually got fired from that church. And after you've moved your whole family across the country, that's a sticky situation to live in. And having to go through that was difficult. But man, she's a champ. I don't know why she sticks by me, but she somehow does. And I am thankful for that.
Waiting to see if JD had a question.
Sure. I mean, so... Well, one thing that I was going to say earlier is that you were saying like you were kind of talking about how like you're kind of always searching for like that perfect, like there has to be a better one, right? You're always looking for the better. There's got to be the right group out there. I was going to say, don't worry. After this episode gets uploaded, you're going to have at least 5 people in your DMs telling you they've got the perfect one, so you can go try those.
Oh, yes, this will be awesome.
For those people that want to slide,
my email is Karl Forehand at.
All right. Well, so for those people, before they send their all inquiries to Karl Forehand at hotmail.com or whatever, don't send any emails to that. I don't know whose that is. Yeah, there you go.
He's hip with it.
So for those people that are interested in proselytizing to you without knowing anything about you, what would you define yourself as? What do you call yourself now?
That's a hard one. Like, I don't know. I think that's, because I remember Karl mentioning like saying an agnostic, and I feel that way a lot of times. But also I'm a person that hates like labels, because as soon as you say a word, people assume it means X, Y, and Z. I feel like I'm more of a free agent in how I'm moving, because I think as a lot of us, and we've talked about this before, but I think it's the people that you meet along the way that you start having community with and deeper connections. Like, why am I sitting here talking to Karl Forehand and JD as well too? I mean, these are like the random connections that we've made along the way of people that are like co-travelers in this space, that, the people that they don't have to get exactly where you're at, but you get like that differentness that comes with the process of kind of walking away. and becoming like a wilderness dweller, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but I think I've become comfortable being out here now too, because I used to feel like I had to go back and be a part of something. And yeah, if I go to another church service anytime in the future, it would be way too soon for me. And I have no desire to step back in there or be a part of the whole game show that they put on Sundays.
Stuart, one of the first things people said to me, actually, it was a lady that said it. She's the pastor's wife. We said, we're losing friends. And she said, you'll find new friends. Mm-hmm. You're going to be okay. Mm-hmm. Do you agree with that? Do you think a real journey does it contribute to all of our friends won't be friends for the rest of our life? And how do you balance that? I mean, I know when I was in second grade and I had that experience I talked about, the next year I would change schools, and I don't remember anything traumatic about that, even though it might have been. But I got new friends. Mm-hmm. And then when I went to college, I got new friends, and hardly any of those stick. What's your feelings on the nature of how eternal relationships should be?
Eternal.
Not include, and I said that intentionally because religion tends to say your relationship with this church and this pastor is all that matters, right? So can you sort all that out and find an answer in my non-question?
Yeah. I mean, I think that going through the process, it was not surprising to me, but it wasn't surprising, but it was still disappointing because people that you'd been there for them and done all of this kind of stuff in their lives and supported them on other stuff, but will drop you they'll just drop you so quickly. And it can be hurtful at first, but I sometimes, and I don't know if this is just me being like, it's a sadist is the one that likes getting beat, or is it the masochist? Whichever one. But it's
masochist. Defer to JD.
Okay. So, but it's masochist. I enjoy like situations that kind of reveal truth, even if it's painful. Even like I've said this before here and other places, but the one gift that Trump has given us is that he has shown us the rot that still exists here. And, I think for all people that thought we made progress, you realize it's not progress. And I think in similar ways, you begin to realize that, is it really a friendship if people are like, I can't be your friend anymore because you don't ascribe to this dogma or you don't like show up at this place? That ends up feeling more like groupthink culty in that point. And I'm like, okay, so yeah. Me as a human it's invalid to you, but usually what that means is I'll just be really mean here. I feel like it's a lot of people who know that change should happen and that you changing makes them uncomfortable with their non-changing ways. Yeah. And it's easier to push you out than be reminded that this system is messed up and I shouldn't be here either.
Right.
So some of it is like that. Yep. Let the dead bury the dead. Kick the dust off your heels. Keep going because they are not worth your time. And it's hard to say that about people too. But at some point it's just like they honestly they really weren't your friends.
Yeah, it's a good point, JD.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with all that. I think it's how do you feel about, because we might say that you've been finding community in the desert perhaps, but do you find it easier and along with that like to find that community, or do you find it harder? And then obviously it sounds like you think that the quality of that community is better, but do you run into issues with that as well, of running into people that are all deconstructing and everyone's kind of all over the place? Yeah, and I guess it's different levels of community too. For sure. And for stuff that are all people that are all over the place deconstructing, then I mean I get that about folks, and I'm able to kind of be in that space and understand what they're processing through. And realize it's messy, and realize I've been there too. And at the same time, I think it's being okay with also being alone at times. And not having to have that like as a status thing, or I don't know. I just, and maybe some of it's me. I grew up isolated child as well too. So I don't need that. Like I don't necessarily need it to exist, but I have core people that I need in my life that kind of like my lifeblood. And then I have other folks as well too that we do stuff with and life with, and it's not as deep. But I don't know. I mean, I feel like it's been interesting for me. It's
it's kind of like found family.
Mm.
You know, the idea that you can kind of go and choose your family a bit, you know, because of politics and other things. I've taken a step back from a lot of my family because it's not healthy. And so I think it's, you just find the people that show up for you because they care for you, not just because of this, that, or the other.
Yeah, we're getting very
really
postmodern on this episode with the finding your own family and make everything is kind of what you make it, which is good. I'm a big fan of postmodernism.
Or Fast and Furious
in some ways. But I do think that all three of us kind of are maybe not loners, but like a little bit more okay with being alone. We're somewhat solitary creatures, perhaps. But yeah, I think at some point we should get someone on who's like a real social butterfly, because I don't understand that kind of thinking. But I wonder how someone like that does go through this kind of like deconstruction period.
It would be hard. I can't imagine. I would assume it's a lot harder, and I've gotten better at this too, and gotten tougher skin moving through the process. But especially, there's a lot of people out there that can be people pleasers and things like that, and get your validation through how others feel about them, and that it can be incredibly hard walking through that process.
Yeah,
especially when people throw around like really harsh language of like going to hell. And all of these other things too on top of it, where you make it like existential dread on top of your deconstruction. Those are hard terms to handle, especially if you don't have people encouraging you.
Do you suppose it has, you brought up before that when you leave the church, people kind of drop you. And so I think the word community has been destroyed by church. I don't think we really understand what that is. And what scientists tell us we need is connection. More than, I mean, it's better than community, because a lot of the community is faux community. You don't make deep connection, and the other thing's important to mental health is attachment, you know, and attachment trauma and all that stuff. But I guess I'm asking, what's real connection? What has to be there? What's most important about connection?
I mean,
Which
I think
may or may not look like a church.
I feel like honesty, you know, I feel like just the honesty to kind of be yourself. And I would always hope speaking your mind, but I know some folks, you know, it's harder to automatically do that. But I think just being able to represent who you are and just to be open with that, it makes it way easier to deal with people. And one thing that I think from being in churches, it's, as a pastor too, it's like everyone needs something from you. There's a bunch of needy people that are always needing something from you. And I think just like real community, it's more of a co-thing. Like I'm here because I want to be with you, and because we both, you know, there's not one person doing all the work in the relationship. And so I think there just has to be some mutuality to it as well.
Yeah, hopefully.
Where do you get your sense? Go ahead, JD. I was going
to say, I think you do find more of that dynamic when you get out of that kind of dogmatic area. So, but yeah. Anyway, go ahead, Dad.
Where do you get your sense of humor, Stuart?
It's a coping mechanism. I mean, I would say part of it was coping mechanisms. I think part of it is I do see the world slightly like skewed and oddly. And so I do find like pointing out differences or things like that are generally funny to me as well. But no, growing up as a puny kid with asthma and stuff who gets picked on, you eventually have to sharpen your tongue to survive. And so it started with humor, and then billowed into also humor with a bit of an edge when I've had enough with people as well too. So it's both coping mechanisms.
Yeah.
And also I enjoy I think laughter is what we need more of. And I think most of things in the world need to be made fun of right now.
It's good, and it's disarming, and it is a coping mechanism, but it's a pretty useful one. And as a especially in like elementary, junior high school, as a chubby kid, I also resonate with that. Just being able to kind of, you know, make the bullies laugh, and then they kind of give you a pass. It's a good skill to have. So you say you're still in the process of deconstructing. What are you working on right now in terms of that?
I think the hardest thing was me, like the trauma part of it as well. I mean, I feel like, you know, when we talk about deconstruction, it can mean a load of things for people. Yeah. Sometimes it can just be, I'm deconstructing my theology, my beliefs and that. But I think some of it was even me just, going through the process of a few years of therapy of dealing with, you know, who am I at my core? I'm not the voices that are in my head. I'm not, you know, all of those things from childhood that ground us down and beat us down. And that's not me. Like Karl mentioned his inner child. I've had to learn a lot of being kinder to myself, especially looking back. I used to be very harsh and critical of pretty much everything I did. some of that's from the church. Some of that's just because my parents are cool people and taught me awesome things like that. But I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I answered the question.
Okay. Is there anything else that's not deconstruction related? Any projects you're working on?
Oh, that kind of stuff. I may or may not have a book that will be coming out in an undisclosed amount of time. And like Karl had said, I have a hard time celebrating wins and good things that happen because I just see all the more work that I must do in something. And it's just kind of like, yes, that's done. Move on. But yeah, hopefully in the next couple months, I will have more I've been working at polishing up the draft for that and etc.
We were also talking about both being bad at and struggling with self promotion in the before we started recording. So yeah, it's okay. Yeah. Everyone push Stuart to promote himself. Go buy his mysterious book, his manifesto.
It is. It's a manifesto. It's a tribulation survival guide. Which is what we're going to be going for everything you need to know as we're going through the tribulation.
Stuart, you have writing on Patheos. You have also have the Snarky Faith podcast. Do some episodes. I love that. I've always loved that podcast, your format there, the way you do it. What's from the people you interview? What's the most common thing that you get from other deconstructing people? If one person said it, it might be true. Another person said it, it might be true, and so on. Not just consensus or confirmation bias, but what's the feel of these things are most important. And that's what I've heard from maybe women and minorities and stuff like that.
I mean, like you're saying, what's the important part of it? I think that we mentioned this in the last session is just learning to trust yourself. And this because I feel like the church has done a great job to teach us to not trust ourselves, that our thoughts, our feelings, our impulses are all evil and bad, and only God is good. We're pieces of shit, etc. But yeah, that's been a hard one for me too. Learning to like trust my gut and trust my perspective. I'm a person that a lot of people come to like for advice and stuff, but I'm terrible at doing it for myself. So I can encourage people, I can help other people, but like make it back of myself, it feels like a foreign language almost at times. But I'm working on that one too.
It's good. What do you? How about online discussions? Do you get involved? You don't get involved in many online feuds, do you?
No, I don't like wasting my time with it. I feel like because like you'd mentioned humor, like I want to get good. Like if someone's like trying to argue with me, like oftentimes I can get a little competitive. That's probably the only time you'll see me get competitive is if you're trying to like out zinger me or try to like out snarky me. I can get a little mad about that. But generally, I just most of the time I don't see the point. Like I just I feel like it's just a hole that you're just dropping rage into. And that's, you know, on my Patheos blog, I for the longest time didn't have comments open because I didn't want to deal with it. And someone was just like, just open them. It's fine. You don't ever have to respond to them. And so part of it's just been fun watching people just go at it with each other in that. And I never comment on it because I just don't see that as a great use of my time. And most of the time it's people are not seeking understanding in a situation. They're just trying to like put in a sick burn or tell you just incredibly, how incredibly wrong you are.
Yeah.
And again, I just feel like those are time and emotion sucks. And so I just kind of like,
Totally agree. I think there's a lot of like serotonin, dopamine seeking, and like how many people how vile of shit can I say online just to get people to hit that thumbs up, and then I just get gratification. Yeah, I think it's a huge time suck, huge waste of time. Completely agree with that.
Especially for people, that you don't even know half the time as well too. So like, yay, stranger, am I just arguing with a bot? What is this? It doesn't even matter. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
It's excessively